Yeah.
This is on.
It's on, mate. Just watch for the drip. It's good, you've done well there. Hi everyone, welcome to the Hope Church Winchester YouTube channel. We're here today with Tom, who's come to join us for a little chat. My name is Phil. So, Tom, hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you mind just telling us a little bit about your faith journey, really? So, in terms of how things were growing up, in terms of faith and church and all those sorts of things?
Yeah, so I grew up in a loving middle-class family from home. They weren't, my parents weren't Christians, so church wasn't a normal part of life for me. It certainly wasn't something we considered to do on a Sunday. It wasn't a consideration of reading the Bible or praying. I ended up going to a Catholic high school, so that was probably my first introduction to Christianity, but it certainly wasn't a sort of major part of my life growing up.
So what was your impression of of church and faith and stuff like that at that point?
So I'd say a lot of my opinions came from the sort of media, so just watching things like stand-up comedy and what people said about that, or what I'd read in a newspaper, and again, as I said, through school, having some friends that were Catholics and sort of having the odd conversation about why they believed that and not really having an understanding of it or being interested by it.
So would you say at that point that you believed in a God?
No, I'd say that I was sort of quite definitely didn't believe in God. Sort of weighed up a bit of the evidence and thought that I came down on the side of believing there was no God.
Okay. And what was your understanding of who Jesus was at that point as well?
I'd say he was part of the God family, but I didn't think of him as a particular sort of person or friend, or even maybe recognise him as a God. I think he was just part of a character within that story, maybe. Okay,
so then what changed? Because obviously now you believe differently to how we did. So what changed?
So my auntie married an Indian doctor who is a Christian, and they live out in India. And I'd finished school and was between jobs and was invited out to go and stay in India as a sort of family or a holiday. And so I went out there, and they took me to church on the first time. The first weekend I was out there, and
how was that?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock. So there was lots of things that I wasn't expecting to see or expecting to hear, and it was the first time I properly heard the Bible explained and a preach, if you will. And there was a talk about Peter and how he had such a strong belief because he was able to believe in something that he hadn't seen, and so that intrigued me from the first weekend I was there, really. Okay,
so there was a preach about someone doing a talk about one of Jesus' disciples about how even when he doesn't see something, actually he can still have faith. So then what happened after that? So after that moment,
so I was having lots of conversations during the week about these things that were spoken about on Sunday. I saw that it wasn't just a Sunday meeting, that it was important to them. There was a real, genuine nature to their faith, and that they would wake up earlier than they needed to pray. Things like that I just couldn't get my head around. And before bed we would open the Bible as a family and read through these things. And the more I learned, the more intrigued I became, I'd say.
Wow, okay. And so you've been to the church on the Sunday, that's been the whole week, and you go to church on the Sunday, the next Sunday as well. And so does there then become a point where you then, I don't know, then you make a commitment, or you decide for it for yourself, or how does it?
So I got to the point where I thought, I think there is more truth to this than what I previously believed. I think if I had to say now if there was a God or there wasn't a God, I'd probably say there was. But I didn't feel the genuine relationship with Jesus that I saw in my family. So I wanted to make sure it was real. I wanted to make sure it was genuine. So one evening, we're playing Monopoly.
Nice.
And I've gone out, crashed out early in the game, and my auntie is about to win, and she says, "Why don't you come on to my team and we can win together?" And I said, that doesn't seem fair. Like, I don't deserve this. And through that game, something, you can probably see the analogy of the gospel playing out there, clicked, and I felt a real confirmation that yes, this is right. I've understood grace in a way I didn't before. So I made my excuses, went upstairs, and had sort of seen others praying and had observed prayer in church, and felt, I'm going to pray and say, Jesus, can you come into my life? I want this to be real. I think I believe this to be true. And prayed that. And at that moment, felt a sense of peace that I'd never felt before. Started to cry and felt sort of tingling into my fingertips, which I later understood to be the Holy Spirit. So I came downstairs, they're still playing the game, and I'm in floods of tears, and they ask me what's happened, and I've explained this story to them.
Wow. And so just playing Monopoly and just seeing that, your auntie sort of like bringing you onto her team, something that you didn't deserve, as you say, like, that grace in a way, getting something that we don't deserve, you saw that as like, actually, this is what I've heard about, this is what Jesus has said, that this is what the gospel, the good news of Jesus is. So then that happens. So you're still in India at this point, playing Monopoly, and so then what happened? How long do you stay in India?
So I was there for 3 months.
Okay.
So this was when about 10 years ago, almost exactly. And so I finished the rest of my time in India, another month or so, and then came home to back to Norwich, to England, where I was living before.
Okay. And so was there a change, when you came back in terms of yourself, which was more than just, I've been to India and I've come back?
So I think definitely when I came home, I had a really strong desire to want to get involved in a church back in Norwich. I came home and wanted to be involved with people who were going to encourage me in that. So I got back in contact with a friend who I'd played football with, and he said, I go to this church, come along on this first Sunday. And I didn't know he was a Christian initially, and so I really sort of felt God had provided for me there, providing this friend who had already been a Christian and then was well placed when I got back, joined church, and very quickly had a completely new friendship group, a new lifestyle with going to church events throughout the week and on Sundays, and very quickly my life had sort of changed from how you would have recognised it to my life in Norwich before.
And so in terms like the way that you then felt, I know you've spoken before about, like a sense of peace and stuff like that, like, was that?
Yeah, so the way I feel about my life and the sort of hope that I have in Jesus, the way that I wouldn't say that I worry in the same way I would before. Being able to pray and being able to seek advice of other Christians and be directed back to the Bible and have that relationship with God helps me in a way that I never had before.
Great, amazing. That's just really helpful, and I think it's really helpful for us all to hear that actually it's not just people who have grown up in the church and people who have come from Christian families that are Christians and stuff like that. So thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed this chat with Tom. Do keep on checking in. We'll be putting out new stuff every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and we hope to see you soon.
There we go.
That'll do.
You got it.